What's up, guys? Thanks for joining me today for Major Players, where I bring you guys somebody that's really a major player playing a big game in their space, and we're gonna have straight talk about money. Again, always connect with people who are actually doing big things and are in power. So today I have my man Matthew Meehan. He actually Meehan, right? Because so he is the CEO of Shield
Meehan, yeah, you
Advisory.
got it.
Huh? What's up?
Yeah, you got it. Meehan, that's
Oh, okay.
correct. Meehan, you
All
hit
right.
it.
And the CEO of Credit Bank, that's Credit Bank with a C. And man, he's a buddy of mine. We talked quite a bit. I learned a lot from him even just before this. And I'm looking forward to having you guys get the opportunity to meet Matthew as well. So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you.
Vic, thanks for having me, man. I'm super excited.
For sure, man. So yeah, so again, man, I like to bring people on here and really just kind of interview you because I see you as a major player. You're doing big things like stuff we were just talking about. Definitely want to go into that a little bit. But ultimately, my goal is always to find out like how people got started. That's an interesting thing. So like I'll just jump straight into it with me and you. Like, how did you get into like doing what you're doing with Credit Bank, Shield Advisory? Like, tell me a little bit about that and everybody listening.
How long is this episode? Nah, I give you the 30,000 foot overview. Um, literally, I was 18 years old. I barely graduated high school. I didn't wind up going to college that summer. I was working in a diner. And as I was working in the diner, I really had no direction of where I was going to go in my life. I really
Mhm.
had nothing. My friends all went away to school. They came back one day, and I'll never forget. They came back with another guy I didn't know, and whatever. They came in. They told me that they were going to run out on the bill until I was the waiter, but they decided not to because I was there. And their friend that was with them kind of didn't like that because he really wanted to run out on the bill, I guess. He doesn't like paying his bills. But
Yeah.
anyway, they were leaving that night and they said to me, "Hey, Matt, we're going to be back in spring. You're going to be here." And their friend turns around and goes, "Yeah, where the fuck's he going?"
Oh.
Man, that fucking pissed me off, bro. That pissed me off. So I used to work the late night, the 24-hour shift, like the
Yeah.
overnight shift. And that was Saturday night. Sunday morning, the newspapers came in. I don't know if anybody remembers the newspapers, right? But the Sunday Advance always had the classified section on there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I sat down. It wasn't busy. It's probably somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning. I grabbed the classified section. And I just started circling shit, circling shit, circling shit. That comment made me so fucking pissed off. I didn't know what I was
Mm.
doing, but I jumped on the train from working, went home, grabbed my grandfather's shirt and tie and that suit I was supposed to wear for graduation,
Yeah.
got a roll of quarters, jumped back on the train, jumped on the Staten Island ferry. That's like a 2 hour commute into Manhattan. And
Okay.
then I went to the first payphone I had that roll of quarters, and I just started calling places, calling places. They're like, "Yeah, sir, you can come in next week. Yeah, sir, you can come in next week. Yeah, sir, come in next week and make sure you have your resume." I was so pissed off, man. This is like August. I'm
Mm.
sweating. Remember those blue shirts that you used to wear back in the late
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah.
I had sweat coming
It's
down. It was
that
gross.
ring.
So I'm getting down to like my last couple quarters. I called this one place. The name of the firm was GBI Capital, and then they're like, "Yeah, you can come in next week." I go, I don't know what made me say it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm actually downstairs right now. Is there any
Mm.
way I can come up because I won't be back around for another 2 weeks? They're like, actually, we can see you at 1 o'clock today. I'm like, okay. Right now it's like 12 in the afternoon. I got an hour. I'm like, okay, that's good. But don't forget, I was up from 7 o'clock in the morning the night before. So I'm
Right.
exhausted.
Yeah.
So I get up there. They're like, just make sure you bring your resume. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So the minute I get up there, they go, where's your resume? I'm like, "Ah, I must have left it. I'm sorry." Anyway, they saw me. The guy's name was Ross. Was the recruiter for the firm.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know anything about Wall Street. I didn't know anything about sales. So Ross takes me into his office. But before I get into the office, we open that door. And there's a football field of guys on the phone, pounding the phone, talking, talking. And then there's this giant scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
Scoreboard on how much money they were making every month and how much money they made for the year, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, what is that? He goes, that's how much money everybody makes. Go sit down in my office. I'll be right in. So I walk in, I sit down with Ross. Ross goes to me, all right, so what do you know about the stock market? I go, absolutely nothing. And he's like, okay. He goes, so did you go to college for finance? I'm like, nah, I barely graduated high school. He just looks at me and he goes, what makes you think you could do this? At
Mm.
this point, I'm like, I fucked up. Or I'm in my head, I'm going nuts. I'm like, I know I can fucking do this. And just like that, I was just pissed off. I was exhausted from the night before.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. He goes, I'll be right back. So he gets up, he walks out the door, he closes it behind him. I'm sitting there like, wow, I just fucked this one up. The one interview that I got, I fucked it up. Big
Yeah.
time. Anyway, Ross walks in with Barry Rapkin. Barry Rapkin was the managing director of the firm. Barry Rapkin is about 5'5",
Hmm.
right? He's got that business in the front, party in the back mullet. And when he
Yeah. Yeah.
smiled, he had like his teeth just blinked, right? What do you call
Yeah.
them? Everybody gets them.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
implant
talking
before
about
they
like,
leave a bubble,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
He's like one
veneers.
of those guys, hey babe, let's do lunch. Like late 90s Gordon Gekko style.
For
Anyway, he
sure.
goes, hey Ross, this is the kid, huh? Ross, this is the kid. He's like, yeah. He goes, tell Barry what you told me. I'm like, Ross, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, tell him what you told me. I go, oh, I know I could do this job. Barry looks at Ross. He goes, why are you wasting my time? He goes, Matt, tell him exactly what you told me. I know I can fucking do this job. Barry goes, oh, nice. I'll see you 7:30 tomorrow morning, kid. Don't be
Yeah.
late. Just let the door and walk down.
Right.
So
Right.
next day, I walk in, don't know what's going on. It's complete chaos. You have 100 guys running around. It's like a locker room, right?
Right.
People are on the phone, they're screaming at each other. I go, hey, Barry, thank you for the opportunity. I'm not going to mess this up. Meanwhile, I worked that night too. So now
Mhm.
I'm up like 48 hours. I'm like, Barry, I don't know what stock is. He goes, don't worry about it, pal. It's something that blinks red or green on your screen. Here's your script. Here's your leads. Go get on the phone. And that was my
Mm.
start on Wall Street.
Nice. It's crazy because okay, so
Yeah.
like we all seen like stuff on TV and stuff like I mean like that. So basically just you joined the boiler room and what really got you there was like that mentality that you really needed that pushback. Which a lot of
Oh,
people
I did.
avoid, right?
Yeah,
Um
absolutely. I'm surprised to this day that I cursed in an interview because it's not really like me, right?
mhm,
But then, flash forward, what wound up happening was that firm got bought out about a year later when I was there, when I was
mhm,
licensed, by the oldest company on the New York Stock Exchange,
huh.
right?
Yeah.
Then 9/11 happened, and we were directly across the street from the World Trade Center,
Oh wow.
right?
Yeah.
So what wound up happening was everybody that worked in downtown Manhattan went to Midtown. And the
Okay.
Midtown offices, they weren't outfitted for all these brokers coming up there. We had guys working in closets, guys there were no cell phones at that time, really. Nobody had
Right.
cell phones. Guys are putting T1 lines in everywhere. We're just trying to work.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the guys I wound up working for wound up going and getting recruited to a firm in Long Island. And then he brought us with him, right? I wasn't making any money at this time. He's like, yeah, I'll give you a paycheck. Don't worry. Just come to Long Island.
Right.
Well, Long Island took me, it was a 3-hour commute each way,
Oh wow.
right? So I did that for about a year and a half. I moved to Long Island. Then because I started to make money, right?
Mm,
I made no money for 2 years. My third year, I made $100,000. After that, I was a multi-million dollar producer. You know, I I was getting recruited by every firm on the block. They were writing
right.
checks for me to come in,
What
get
were you
my client
selling?
list over. Well, we were selling stocks,
Okay,
right? We were
just trading
managing
stocks. Like, were
portfolios of
you?
clients.
Okay.
Trading stocks aggressively, blue chips. Um, Went to another company, wound up doing fantastic there. Got recruited back to another company. They wrote a big enough check, so I went again,
Yeah.
right? And then 2008 happened, right? So I went from making no money to over $100,000 every single month at 22, 23, 24 years old,
Dude,
right?
what did that
25.
do to you when you're making that much money a month at 22, 23 years old? Did you just like mentally just like expand or did you
uh,
implode over time?
Oh,
Like
I
some
imploded. I imploded over time, big time, man.
mm,
I probably had four girlfriends. I was supporting three bartenders, right? Going out and just spending the money faster than they came in. I can tell you, I make $100,000 in a month. I go in my house and my apartment in New York. I flip my lights on, and the lights wouldn't come on one day. I'm like, why? It's not because I didn't have the money, because I didn't pay
mm,
the bill, because I was running so fast. I just
right,
wasn't paying attention to the little stuff, you know?
right, right. So
Long story
did you
short,
grow?
2000.
Go ahead. No, I want to hear this because this is man, this is gold for me. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, so long story short, I built books of business, I blew them up, but the one thing that worked was always getting back to the basics, making sure I was working. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, right?
Mm,
And it was me and a good team around that kept pushing me. Every time I wanted to quit, I'm like, I'm done with this shit. my friends would be like, hey, no, come on. You're here. You've done this before. Get your ass back in. I had a good team around me, a lot of
Yeah.
positive mentorship around me to keep my
Mm.
head focused, right?
Right.
Um, Flash forward, 2008 happens. Every company I started working for, they wind up going out of business in 2009, 2010, right?
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
some were under net cap violations, means they didn't have enough money to operate as a broker dealer. Other ones, they just got acquired because of consolidation and people could have bought them out cheap. But what ended up happening at that time was my clients, every time we changed firms, this happened 4 times in 2 years,
Uh-huh.
right? My clients had to sign new paper. Clients signing new paperwork, you lose clients from attrition, not because you're not making the money, not because you're doing anything wrong. The clients just don't think you're stable at
Right.
that point.
Right.
So we got so fed up. 4 of us got this bright idea at the bar one night. Fuck this. I'm 27 at this time. Let's just go start our own firm. All right, let's
Mm.
start our own firm. We started looking into it, and we realized the whole process to actually get it approved and start your own firm takes 2 years.
Wow.
Then I said, why don't we just buy one? So we bought one instead. We bought a broker
Mm.
dealer, 4 of us. We did really well. We grew it to 80 registered reps by 2015. At that point, I was just done with the business. I didn't like it anymore. You know, when you're working for yourself and you're running your own book of business, and then you
Yeah.
have 80 people working underneath you, you're their banker, you're their psychologist, you're their daddy in some senses because they didn't grow up with a good support system at home, and these are young guys coming in trying to make money and they just don't know how to handle their emotions yet. I was the
Right.
same way.
Right.
But it just, I would have to get to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning just to get my work done before all the bullshit started,
Mm.
right? So I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm done. So 2015, me and my wife, we moved to Orlando, Florida. My partners wound up buying me out, right? And I
Yeah.
just didn't know what I was going to do at that point in time. And I got into the private lending space, right? Somebody
Right.
else I knew from Wall Street left Wall Street and did the same thing. So I started giving them a little bit of capital prior to me leaving to see how it worked,
Yeah.
right? Because I always had this idea in my head that I was going to go do something else next. And it was working out. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. So I started lending my own money out
Hmm.
everywhere on the street,
Yeah.
right? Doing good, right? And then 2020 happened. Now all my capital is on the street.
Right.
Businesses aren't getting paid back, going under. There's no money coming. So what wound up happening, and this is where I knew I had Luigi on, who's one of my business partners. This is where I brought him in. I'm like, I have no problem writing these businesses a check,
Right.
but nobody's actually helping, right?
Mm.
One of
Yeah.
those things that are so obvious in life, and it takes something like COVID for a light bulb to go off. And like, why aren't we doing this? So
Right.
we started a full service consulting firm. I brought in a CPA partner. I brought in an attorney that was a partner,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then we just started doing free webinars for PPP loans, right?
Okay. Yeah.
EIDL loans, not charging anybody, just giving information because we were tapped into the banks because we work closely with them because we lended alongside of them.
Right.
Now, your normal small business in America, unless they had 7-figure checking accounts at these banks, they were left stranded. They didn't know what to
Right.
do. The bankers working in the banks didn't know what to do. So we stepped in, we filled that void, right?
Mm. Mm.
So market started to turn around in lending. We started lending a little bit. And then there's this tax credit that came out called the ERC tax credit, right?
Yeah.
My CPA, that was my partner, brought it up to me. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we do this? And why don't we help people to get it? Unlike PPP and EIDL, where there's a couple lines of application to get the money,
Yeah.
right? This one had a lot of work that needed to do it. So we opened it up to all our clients, and then we had people from the lending industry sending us their clients. So
Wow.
that's how the consulting side of the business was born. And
Got it.
then after that, we wanted to separate the consulting side from the lending side. So
Yeah.
we launched and we spun off Credit Bank, which Credit Bank can get you access to capital. We
Hmm.
have our own fund that we lend money from. We can do everything from short-term bridge financing,
Right.
lines of credit, SBA loans, and if you're big enough, we can go to the family office or PE route.
Huh, man. See, that's crazy. And that was, and dude, thanks for sharing that. That's you got a crazy ride. I've known you for a while and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Um, it's just interesting to me because it was what I was saying earlier. Is like, dude, that at some point somebody has an experience or they have exposure, and you have both. And I think that everyone's tipping point is like, I mean, we all have it, right? Somebody says something to you, is like, dude, you know what? No, fuck that. It's not going to be me. And then you cruise off in the other direction, almost like, I mean, I think we all have it. I think as entrepreneurs and business owners and salespeople, everyone has a little chip on their shoulder. Nobody wants to be wrong about like it's either I'm gonna make you wrong about me, but or I don't want to be wrong about myself. And it sounds like that's what happened. Real fast, I don't want to spin it all the way backwards, but I'm just curious. Did you grow up around money? Did your family always talk about money, or it was just like a non-thing in your household?
Abs- Absolutely not. I had this conversation with my daughters the other night. My grandparents basically raised me, right?
Okay.
We lived in a three-bedroom apartment with six or seven family members, depending on the week, until I was 14 years old. I
Hmm.
slept on the floor in my grandparents' bedroom,
Right,
right?
right.
So yeah, my parents and my grandparents still can't even tell you what I do to this day. They don't understand the finance world at all.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
father was he was an elevator contractor, right? Awful lot. The rest of my family, all my uncles and my brother were all NYPD. So
Mm.
yeah, my introduction to wealth and money and the way money moved
Yeah,
was being in the heart of it, being on Wall Street, talking
yeah,
to people, surrounding myself. I ask a lot of questions. I
yeah.
still do to this day. I feel like if I don't learn something new every day, I didn't do anything that day. I gotta always learn something different. Meanwhile, it's so funny because when I was in school, I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about learning. I probably read more books in the last year than I've ever read in my whole school curriculum.
Right, right. It's crazy that you because we have such a similar background. Like I got in trouble. I got a book from the store, like shortening the story. I was on probation and then I had to, I was working nights. And the book from the store was like, for how to buy real estate, fast cash for real estate. But then,
Mhm.
during that time, it's like I found a property, called the what the book said to do was call out of the yellow pages, and I got somebody to say, yeah, come into the office. But they owned a mortgage company. They were doing private lending,
Uh-huh.
secondary notes, structuring notes, buying them, and then selling off the warehouse lines back into, and then opening the warehouse lines back up. So I thought I was doing real estate, but technically I was learning finance. And I was telling people this. So I
Yeah.
got the back end of like real estate as a security, like, like that's why I was like, what'd you sell? But it was like, how does the debt work? Points, spreads, seller, structuring seller finance notes, selling off the seconds, buying them back, things like that, structuring all these deals. And then also, like we talked about in the past, like subject to financing, which is taking over the existing debt, putting them in different entities, liquidating the entities. So it was never like, let me go fix anything. Like I never got into that space of real estate. So it's interesting, but I got there the same way you did. They were like, I had this attitude like I'm not gonna be like I have to do this. So when he was like, "Yeah, what do you think you can do?" I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna do anything you say. Like you're gonna do it. You're gonna tell me I'm gonna do it so good. When you leave, you're gonna think you did it." And he was like, "I wish I had 10 of you working in this office. Come in tomorrow." And I came every day. So, but it's
Yeah.
what you said. It was
Listen,
almost like
it's
learning the money is very different, and that exposure really helped me.
it's a blessing when you don't know anything because you just do what people tell you. You don't overthink it. Because
Yeah,
I think people overthink a lot of stuff, right? I didn't know anything, right? You
yeah,
told me what to do, I just did, right?
yeah.
So that's the way it was. There was actually a song that was popular on the radio at that time that I would play all the time.
Oh, Spring Love,
This is my
Stevie
last.
V. Now I'm playing
No,
because you're
this is
from New
my
York.
last resort by Papa Roach.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
how was little Matthew, man? How were you as a kid? Were you competitive? Like were you how were you?
So, I mean, I was in and out of the hospital more than probably tell. Hit by a car, open heart surgery,
What?
broken bones. Yeah, and that was
No
all
way.
up till like third grade. Yeah, and then after that, around sixth grade, I really got heavy into Taekwondo. So I became
Okay.
a third degree black belt in Taekwondo and was competing nationally.
Wow, dude. You have dude, you are a colorful man, dude. Like everybody listening should get to know Matthew and for real. Like that's crazy. So I would assume that that would make you kind of like so with injuries and then you moved into what like Taekwondo, you know,
Mhm.
did you compete or did you just train or like or things like that? What'd you do?
Oh no, 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 no. I mean, listen, when I go to do something, I guess if I like it, I go all in. That's why I was working, 12 to 14 hours a day in a brokerage firm. But like when I was at the Dojang, I would be there I get there, teach classes. I'd be there for 4 or 5 hours a day, every
Yeah.
day. And then I would compete and do demonstration. I was on demonstration team on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I did compete.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy. So
compete
you
like
think that spilled
six,
over
seven
into
times a
like
year.
that? So is that it sounds like you have that, just like all of us, we have this extreme drive to like once you're in something and it catches your attention, like you're gonna be there. Is like how important is that in what you do as it relates to like money, growth, scaling, investments, and also funding? Like how important is that level of focus for you and for some of the people that you lend to and partner and borrow and borrowers?
Focus is everything, right?
Hmm.
I think as you get older, you have different areas of your life you need to focus on. Like I have a wife and a family, so I
Yeah.
can't do 12, 14 hours a day, put my head down, blinders on, and go,
Facts.
right? That's the
Facts.
benefit of being young. But being young, you don't want to do that because you want to go out and party, right?
Right.
But now I have to actually take care of my family, spend time with them. That's the most important thing in the world to me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to change my focus up. And one of the best things I can tell everybody for that is time blocking, right? Making sure
Mm.
your calendar is always blocked out. I know me and you went back and forth a couple times because I'm always on the move, right?
Right,
So
right. Yeah, no, that's good, dude. So, like, what do you think? And I always like to ask this question too. So, like, I have a fund, and it's a first time fund, but I'm not a first time investor. I've been there for a long time. We're dealing right now
mhm.
with just retail investors and growing. So, like, and it's all real estate, multifamily, stabilized property, institutional, bigger deals in a very competitive market, Southern California, right? Because I learned multifamily the right way, the investments in Hawaii, which is a very similar market. What would you say to somebody
Okay.
like me that's like scaling and growing from that perspective? You've been in investment banking and finance and stuff. Like what would be the target would you see coming up over this next 3 to 5 years so far as scaling a fund?
Scaling your fund?
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah, yeah,
I will
yeah.
tell you this, no matter if you're working with one investor or you're working with thousands of investors or you're running a fund like you, communication's key, right?
Mm,
I
mm,
can't tell you how many deals I've done personally. Look, I invest too. I invest with people all the time.
right.
And I give the money and I don't hear from 6 months, 7 months, a year sometimes, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Communication is everything. Over communicate. If there's
Hmm.
nothing to be said, just, hey, what's going on? How are you?
Right,
Right?
right.
Because you did so much work and built relationships to get them to trust you and believe in you. Don't
Hmm.
walk away from that, right?
Right,
Because
right.
your first investors will be your best investors. And when they
That's
get
right.
liquid and you're communicating with them, they know what's going on with the projects. And listen, if things are bad, over communicate. Let
Hmm.
them know. Ask them if they know somebody have you been down this road before? I know you invested for a while. What would you suggest? Do you have a contact for me? Don't
Right.
Your investors are investing with you, yes, because they want to make money, but they're also there to work with you as well. So I don't
Hmm.
think enough people that have a fund actually tap in to the network of their investors inside of that fund,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
more relationships are everything in life.
Mm.
And unless you ask for help, nobody's going to help
You
you.
won't get it.
Here's one thing that I literally, and this happened over the last couple of years, I learned because I used to be a macho guy. Look, I grew up in Staten Island. Everybody was a gangster. You don't tell anybody your problems. Nobody really cares. Blah blah blah. Asking for help is a
Hmm.
superpower.
Wow.
It's a
Wow.
superpower, right? Because people genuinely, if they like you and they respect you, want to help you. Okay?
Mm.
That is going to lead to new relationships, which could lead to new business, which could just lead to a better life down the road. You never
Yeah.
know. Relationships in life are everything, and asking for help is a superpower.
Wow. Dude, that's huge, man. You know what? That's one of my biggest things, like with what we're doing growing. Like I'm constantly reaching out to people, hey, like who do you know? What are we doing? And that's interesting because like it's almost like what was it? One of my buddies says it all the time. Common sense isn't always common practice. So like you said, it's like,
Correct.
it's like building your relationship, but people forget to build a relationship, there has to be massive amounts of communication, you know? So that's
Mhm.
interesting because we do that too with anybody that we're working with, people who have made commitments with us. People are like, how are you keeping people like going? And I'm like, well, we're constantly communicating, sharing with them what we're looking at, why we're doing it. So thanks for sharing that. And the other question I had was because I know I want to get into it, I've just not had those relationships yet. And this is also for other people out there, maybe raising money or talking about it. Like you've worked in like investment banking, and you've also, like you said, family offices and institutions. Like, how easy is it to get in, like, build relationships with family offices? Have you done that, or do you do quite a bit of that, or your people do?
Years ago we used to, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's about, look, some of these family offices, they'll look at 100 deals a month, but they'll do 12 a year.
Right, right.
Right? So building a relationship with them has to be done the right way,
Hmm.
right? You have to really understand what their buy box is, what industry they're looking for. If they're focused on consumer products and you bring them a technology company,
Mm,
9 out of 10 times it's not going to work out, right?
right.
And if you keep doing that over and over and over again,
Yeah.
right? They're not even going to take your call anymore, right? Too many
That's
people
right.
shotgun deals out,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You have to actually, it's so simple. Just create a database of everybody you talk to, ask them for their tear sheet, find
Hmm.
out what their buy box is, right?
Mm,
What they're looking for. I mean, in your world, in real estate, what markets they're in, right?
right.
What geographic area, right? What asset classes are they looking into,
Right.
right? You're not going to bring somebody a debt fund that's, doing storage units, right? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right.
Too many people are just running and gunning out there, and they're
Mm.
not acting like sniper. They're shotgunning everything around, hoping and praying somebody, gives them a shot.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And you said something Luigi said the other day, your partner, when he was like, "What's the problem?" And he basically boiled it down to focus.
Yeah.
So, business owners, like, they don't know their product, or, like for me, it's like real estate, multifamily, like that's it. So it's a lot easier because, like I tell people, like, confused mind says no, we hear it all the time, but in investing, and I learned it earlier on, and probably you too, like when you're dealing with money and people's money in anything, like your ability to focus on one thing is probably the most valuable resource you'll ever have, because no one wants to hear you talk
Mhm.
about 30 things with their money, period. End of story.
No, absolutely. So look, I have 9 different companies,
Yeah.
right? When somebody asks me what I do, I finance businesses,
There you
right?
go.
It also comes down to knowing your audience too, right?
True.
As the conversation goes,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if I'm with somebody in conversations about taxes, well, guess what? I'm partnering with a tax strategy firm. I can help you out. Let me introduce you to, my partner, Chad.
Yeah.
Chad handles all the time. I don't have to be the expert. I can let them know I'm a partner in it and I can make the connection, right?
Right.
But when
Right.
it comes down to what do? I finance businesses,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
also a partner in a real estate development firm, right?
Right.
So, I don't come out and say I'm a partner in a real estate development firm. Now, if I always want to be different too, if it's
Hmm.
about real estate, I want to be something different because I don't want to be around a bunch of guys that, have times, oh, I'm in real estate, you're in real estate. What do you do? What do you do? Is that a meaningful conversation? Right?
Yeah.
I would prefer to talk about tax benefits that they probably don't know about in that room, right?
Right.
And it
Right.
all circulates to the end goal anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had us on a timer from earlier when we were talking. But no, that's cool, man. So as it relates to like what you're doing, financing businesses and stuff like that, and I know you had a hard stop. I want to make sure to be mindful of your time, dude. Like, I appreciate you. What are you working on now? First, how much business have you done? Like, when you look at your whole career, and I ask this because of exposure. Like, for me, I'm like, dude, people have done a lot of, like, for me, like when I really put the pen to it, like, dude, we've done over $60 million worth of real estate transactions. Me. Um, without being a broker, without anything like that. To me, that seems small because people throw up a bunch of crazy numbers for like online purposes, but that's real
Mhm.
product. So like, but
Mhm.
for you, like, as you relate to like your life, and I try to get the level of that number more so from my mind, like, dude, this dude's done through a lot of stuff.
Probably, if I have to put a number on it, I probably put over $2 billion in the hands of business owners.
Wow, dude, that's amazing. That is
But listen,
amazing.
I've also, remember, I started at 19,
Yeah,
right? I'm
still,
44 now. I've been doing this for 25 years,
that's true. But
right?
think about how many people started something at 19 that's also 44 that hasn't done that. I can show you some dude
Yeah.
right now down the street that's 70 and didn't do that. So like, and that's some one of my mentors, Jamie. She's actually on my team for Bell Capital as well, like an advisor. She actually, her and Bob owned the company that started funding me, and I started learning from the finance company. They did like reverse IPOs, stuff like that. So I was exposed to that. But she was like, Victor, how much more success do you have to have before you feel worthy? And I was
Yeah.
like, great question, man. I was like, because I don't feel like what I've done is really worth, because I want to be Blackstone. I want to be, Starwood Capital. I want to be those guys. So when I look at me, it's like I'm a rounding error for the week. But, but
Yeah, no, we definitely, that's it's a curse, it's a blessing at the
yeah,
same time, but we don't give ourselves enough credit,
yeah,
right, for what we've done. But that's what keeps us going, right?
for sure.
If we were happy and content, that's where you have a difference between a river and a swamp, right? A swamp is just
1000%.
where, let's say, stagnant, and a river keeps flowing. We're
That's right.
rivers, baby. We're
Yeah, they're
not a
both water.
swamp.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So and like so what's new for you guys right now? What's one of the big things that you guys are targeting for 26 and 27? Like, what are you working on that's huge?
So I'm gonna do it to you. I know we just spoke about it, but
Do it,
I
man.
am so, bro. I am beyond bullish on Florida real estate. Look
Mm,
at what we have going on. You
yeah,
got talks about you have talks about 50-year mortgage. It's good or bad. I don't give a shit. It's on the agenda. People are
it is.
talking about it, right?
Right, right.
We got a new Fed governor coming in, which is going to mean lower interest rates,
That's
right?
right.
Got New York just got socialist mayor. I'm already getting phone calls. Where should I move? How do I get out of here?
Right. Or what do I do
Your
next?
neighborhood, you got that billionaire tax on the ballot. We
Yep.
just took $3 trillion worth of wealth, move out of there to Florida,
Right,
right?
right.
Plus DeSantis, and we're all talking about getting rid of property tax here. So no state income tax and no property tax,
Yep.
right? You have Trump doing everything he can to make houses more affordable or make
Hmm.
interest rates lower, right?
That's
Fannie
right.
and Freddie just jumped in. He's talking about allowing you to use your 401k plan, right, to
Yep.
purchase your first house right now. I think real estate is the way to go.
Mm,
I'm very focused there on what we're doing. And we're building, we have about $150 million in projects in the pipeline right now that I'm super excited for.
dude, that's
Lending's
huge.
lending. It's always going to be there. But
Yeah.
here's why I'm really excited about it. We touched on it a bit. What I do, it's cool, right? But like I said in the beginning, what's a stock? It's something that blinks red or green on your screen, right?
Right.
There's no tangible product there, right?
Hmm.
So I could make somebody money. They could thank me. They could say, "Yeah, you paid for our kids' college." That's
Yeah.
awesome. I can give a business money and say, "You kept me afloat. You kept going. Nobody else would lend to us, and they'll come back." That's awesome. But I
Right.
still can't touch, right? With real
Wow.
estate, the projects we're building, I'm going to be able to bring my children around Central Florida and say, "Hey, we built that. Hey,
Right.
we built that."
Yeah.
Right? Now, I can't put a nail on the wall. Don't get me wrong,
Me
but I
either.
can be instrumental helping
Yeah.
my clients structure and finance everything moving
That's right.
forward, right? So that's why I'm super excited. Plus the catalyst that we have in Florida, I think we get one or two of those, it's over. The market's going to explode here.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I 1000% agree with you. Ironically, like I'm bullish on San Diego County. There's pockets, right? So,
Hmm.
I'm here. So everything you're saying is everything I talk to my investors about. I'm like, let's, I love the fact that what you just said, dude, it's everything we talk about because you figure like, yeah, I actually believe San Diego at some point will become the next Miami. It has to because it has the same barriers to entry, right? The difference of it, and I've saw this over the last two market cycles, three market cycles, and I relate it to like I'm not I was in the military, but I'm not military minded, but I like to relate this to a money perspective of war. If you take all of your troops and you exit, your city is ripe for getting sacked. So like what I've always saw, because I'm from Texas originally, before I
Hmm.
moved to Hawaii, people from California and people from New York migrate inland or they go south. New York, they go to Florida. California goes Southern California. It doesn't really leave California as much, or it goes to Arizona, Vegas, Texas, and it stops there. And they kind of do the same thing. Here's the thing, though. People in Texas know that. We already know the money is going to come from somewhere else. We're going to rip your heads off. You're going to go broke. The market's going to change, and you're going to exit our market and go back to where you made the money. So usually people from Texas, firms and things like that, I didn't know this, it was firms, but I knew that it was people. When the money comes from other places, they use that money and go back and buy where the money came from. So then when you go back and you have to exit those markets because, Texas is flat, Vegas is flat, like, there's mountains and things, but you can just build and develop for everywhere. When you go back, the people from Texas probably own all of your stuff. The people from, same thing with Hawaii. Hawaii made a bunch of people from other markets went to Hawaii. They bought Japan. They bought. The market tanked. That money exited. People from Hawaii bought again. And then all of a sudden, when you make more money back where you came from, you got to come buy. Now you got to buy it at a premium. I believe that's going to happen. It's happening now. But it's
Mhm.
not going to happen with the mom and pops. Mom and pops are going to kind of struggle around or they're going to tinker around. They own everything free and clear. It's the institutions that have to exit because they're trapped in these other markets. That's what I see. And you do that when you have like ocean on one side, mountains on the other, assets in the middle, and then you have irreplaceable assets. So you have all these constraints, government problems, tax problems, rent control problems. Those are good things. Those are also barriers to entry. And oh, by the way, let's say you bought a 20, 30 unit deal, you increase the rents by 200 bucks. This is the only place that in a year, 2, 3 years later, the value of your property could be $5 million or $2 million, 10 or $20 million the next year because somebody can't just come and do what you did again. And if you buy it, and you know this from
Mhm.
finance, 10-year debt means I take that piece off the table and it's a non-issue for 10 years because it's going to cost me to
Correct.
get rid of it. So like, man, I'm with you, dude. I see it. I just wasn't able to take advantage of it the last cycle because I just didn't know the game that was being played, but now I see it. And, thanks for guys like you that are being successful out there. Cause like my goal is to eventually move into the Florida market over time. I want to get about 4,000 units here and then take some of that and transfer it. I just want to be on the water. I like the sun. So, but no, man, everything you said, bro, I really appreciate that. So, like, and the last question for you, I know you got to run, but like, what do you think it takes to be a major player right now for what it is you do and how you're doing it? What is that?
Listen, I think again, I'm gonna bring it back to relationships, right? I don't care
Hmm.
if you're 18 years old starting out like I was. Look, I cold called to build my whole book of business, right?
Mm,
Um, there was no silver spoon, there was no trust fund. I cold called, cold called, cold called, cold called. Got to a point, got on a plane, speak with your feet. Good news, bad news. Bad news, especially, I didn't give bad news over the phone. I was on a plane. I go speak to my
right.
client one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
Build deep relationships, right? Build a network of people. If you're 18 years old right now and you're like, I don't have a network, I don't know where to start. It's the best time in history, man. Look, I'm in Florida. You're in California, right?
Right.
We have the internet, we have these rooms, all these events that we've been to. How many people have we met, right? And
Yeah.
what's great about that is how many people the first time we met them said, "Oh, you know this guy? I know this guy too."
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
it's a big web of people out there. Build your network, right?
Mhm.
But don't just transactional, right?
Right.
Shoot people messages. Say hello. What are you up to? How's the family? Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're a transactional person in today's world, you're never going to become a major player because that's the way you're going
Mm.
to be.
Shoot, man, I needed to hear that because I'm extremely transactional. So that was for me today, guys. So but no, I appreciate that, man. I do. I think that's just the deal guy in me. I'm like, let's do a deal, and if we're not, I kind of ship out. I can check out really quick. But but hey, man, I appreciate you, bro, so much, man. Today was really solid. To anybody listening to this, make sure to kind of catch up with Matthew over at Credit Bank. That's Credit Bank with a C or Shield Advisory Group. And just reach out to him, man. Definitely connect with him. I appreciate you. I'm going to keep reaching out to you. I'll be in Florida here soon and I'll make sure that we connect. But man, thanks for coming today. Man, this means the world to me. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a blast. Look
For
forward to
sure,
doing it
bro.
again sometime.
All right, man. Have a great day today.